All right, here we go. Let's go move on to our second group of 5 game. And this is a game that I know you and I are excited to talk about. Uh-oh. Yeah, exactly. He has got the love for this team, and so do I. And that's UTSA, University of Texas San Diego, the Roadrunners. And they're going to face off against Western Kentucky. I actually do really like Western Kentucky so far this year as well. They were my favorite during week 0, during the football game that I watched. I thought that Malachi Cooley was really fun to watch. Reed, what a quarterback that he's been. We are
Yes.
going to watch an absolute barn burner, Steve. This game is featuring 2 of the top 10, it might even be top 5 passing quarterbacks in the nation between Frank Harris and Austin Reed. This is going to be a very fun football game. UTSA versus Western Kentucky. Steve, take the reins. What's your thoughts on this one?
Well, you remember too, these guys faced off for the conference title last year, and they put up 90 points in the championship game.
Right.
UTSA has a chance to do something that has never been done in Division One, and this surprised me when I stumbled across that. They can be the first Division One program to have 3 receivers average 100 yards per game.
Wow.
DeCoria Clark and my guy Joshua Cephas are already well above 100 yards per game, and their third receiver Zachariah Franklin is at 98.2 yards a game. So if you think about it, some of the great passing attacks over the years, they've had 2, but never 3. UT San Antonio could very well set that. And then I love me some Brad Harris. I mean, I
Absolutely.
I want him to be the next franchise quarterback for the New York Football Giants. I want to have a reason to watch the New York Football Giants again. They teased me for a couple years in the 80s, and then when Eli won a couple things, they teased me there. But I go back to the 60s and I've seen some really bad football teams. You give me Frank Harris, I give you a Giants going to the Super Bowl within 3 years. That's how much I love this guy. Everything about him, he is a leader. When he is out there, you can tell in the huddle, they're not playing, they're not arguing. Oh, why didn't you target me? They're listening. They're like, tell me what you want me to do, because
Hmm.
they know he's going to get the ball to him, or he's going to be able to tuck it and run and get first down yardage if nothing's really downfield. This is going to be just an amazing game. Now, Western Kentucky's defense statistically is pretty good, but the best offense they faced was probably Indiana, and we're not talking offensive juggernaut in Indiana. I mean, Troy has a pretty decent offense, but they really haven't stopped anybody the caliber of Harris and UTSA. So I think it's going to be just you're going to have to get like an abacus or something to keep score. You're not going to be able to just to be able to keep track in your head. It's going to be such a fun football game. But and in case you couldn't tell, I really like UTSA. The unofficial official team of the Slasher U college football podcast.
Yes. So
Um,
far, so far they are, and they are making a fan out of us, and that we have no relation to them whatsoever. They have just became a team favorite between you and I, just based on this podcast. Frank Harris has really done it for me. There's a local shop that one of our UTSA friends let me know, called Meep Meep Apparel, and they have a hat that says Frank Harris for Heisman. I'm so tempted on buying that hat and wearing it on this show. You might just see me wind up on there. This is going to be the first matchup this year, and probably the first matchup in a very long time, Steve, that we're going to see 2 teams face off that average 500 yards or more in total offense per game. This game is going to be an absolute shootout. Regardless of if you have any affiliations to this team or if you're rooting for one side, this game is going to be amazing. This is a game that's on at 6 o'clock at night on ESPN Plus. I know there's a lot of other great primetime games on. This game will be on my TV.
Oh
And it
yes.
won't be in split screen with anything else. It will have its own TV, volume be up, because this is going to be a very fun game. If you like offense, if you like fun burning games in this one, regardless of who's on the screen, check out UTSA versus Western Kentucky. And UTSA, they are a good football team. There's some concerns on their defense, but I know that they can get the job done. You look at some of these stats, UTSA, we know that their losses are against Houston in 3 overtimes at the beginning of the year. That was a tough loss. Got it. Put that one behind you. Then you go to overtime again against Army. Then you lose to Texas. Texas is still finding their identity. We might be talking at the end of the year that Texas is going to be a very good team. I think there's an opportunity that Texas could still be in contention for the Big 12, especially with Quinn Ewers back. They beat Texas Southern, and then, as we talked about last week, we were right. They took care of Middle Tennessee State with no problem. Western Kentucky lost to Troy, lost to Indiana, but their last win was against Florida International, 73-0. Anyways, Western Kentucky doesn't have the same resume as UTSA so far this year. I think the folks in the 210 get it done. I think that UTSA is a 6.5-point favorite, and I think they're going to cover that 6.5
Yes.
points. Although I do think it's a barn burner. I think we can go touchdown to touchdown for a while. Over under 73, slam that over. I mean, if we had the Staples button right here, we need to have one that just says over. We need to just start slamming that thing, because that's exactly what's going to happen. I think this is like a 48-40 final. Like, this is going to be a huge, just big time scoring game, but there's going to be a couple stops for UTSA. They're going to win this football game. Frank Harris gets it done. Those receivers get it done. DeCorian Clark, I know he's the fan vote favorite right now for the Blinkoff Trophy. It's going to be some good work for the Roadrunners. That's who I'm taking in this football game.
And I'm right along there with you. And ordinarily, being the old grouch I am, I want low scoring, tough defense kind of games. I don't care if there's a stop in this entire game. It might be the first time ever me watching football over my 62 years that I don't care if there's a single defensive stop, a single interception, a single fumble recovery. I just want to see these offenses go at it. And for those of you that are so focused on the Power 5 schools, this is a great game to get you familiar with the caliber of football being played in a group of 5 schools. And everybody likes statistics and analytics now. Of the group of 5 quarterbacks, Frank Harris has the second highest quarterback rating, according to that voodoo spell that ESPN comes up with their quarterback rating, and Reed is fifth of all of the group of 5 schools. And we've got a lot of really good quarterbacks in these group of 5 conference schools. So it, maybe have the baseball game on, like maybe as a split screen up in the corner or something. But this is the game. ESPN Plus is easily accessible. You can go on your computer if you can't get it on your TV. There's a million ways to watch this game. This is a must watch.
Frank Harris against Texas Southern, 392 yards. Last week against Middle Tennessee, 414. Do we see him get more than 414 yards in this one against Western Kentucky?
Ooh, that's an interesting bet. I have
Can
to
he
try
hit
to.
425?
I'm gonna say yes.
All right. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I've got to get that hat. Frank Harris for Heisman. As you can tell, we are very excited about UTSA, and we have said it for the last few weeks that their record, now that it's a winning record, but it wasn't for the longest of times. But even though their record is 3-2, we've had a lot of love for them. We thought that they are a better football team than their record has given. However, is that dangerous for us, Steve? I want to talk about it as not only someone who covers the football game, but someone who's a fan as well. Let's talk about the dangers of falling in love with a football team. You got to walk the fine line between what's good and what's not. UTSA, we've talked about it, game in and game out. We think this team is better. These concerns on defense is obviously one of those. What's that fine line here?
I think it's just walking the tightrope without a net. I mean, sometimes being a fan doesn't have to make sense. You need to have a clear head when you're looking at teams, But part of the fun of it is falling in love with a team like UTSA. Now, you're an Old Dominion guy. Okay. For me, growing up in New Jersey, it was Rutgers, even though they were always bad. I live in Western Pennsylvania and hate both Pitt and Penn State with an absolute passion. So I try to pull for WVU. I don't want to put those kind of allegiances in this conversation because it's different. It's something that you either grew up with or that you're surrounded with, and you've grown and built the love for those teams. A team like UTSA, you're not going to have a quarterback like Frank Harris and that trio of receivers together again for a decade anywhere in Division One. You're just not going to see it. Allow yourself to fall in love. It's sort of like dating above your level. I mean, if you get lucky, you're like, wow, this is great. I mean, you don't want to sabotage yourself and say, I'm not in the same league with this woman, or this guy, and this is going to happen. No, 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 no. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the experience. Okay, we're not going to have a team like UTSA, and it could be any team out there for you. It might not. It's not necessarily your alma mater where you have that allegiance or the team you grew up watching. It's a team that you've seen games on TV a game or two, or you've seen highlights, and you're like, wow. So is it dangerous? Yes. Are you going to have your heart broken? That's what rooting for sport. It's what being a sports fan's all about. But don't jinx it. Just enjoy the experience.
We are going to have plenty of content for this UTS football game on Saturday. Be sure to check us out on our Twitter. You'll see it at Slasher Sports on Twitter or any of our personals, Route Report or Feckless Wonder. We're gonna be out. We're gonna be covering this game pretty closely because I know both of us will be watching this one. It's going to be a barn burner.